Every single god has their own distinctions. What I love about Aphrodite is that she's just pure, raw, truck power on itself. So let's talk about Aphrodite. Let's talk about how is she going to be working with this build. Remember that there's timestamps in the video description. You can jump to whichever section that you're interested the most. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the build, and then we'll go through the boons that you should be looking for, the actual gods that are going to synergize well with this, so on and so forth. So first and foremost, yes, like I mentioned, Aphrodite is going to be pure power. If you compare to different gods, the basic of everything of them surrounding them. Demeter, for example, it's debuffing the enemy so that they are slower. Ares is damage, but damage over time with some of the buffs right in there. And then you have Hestia, which is also damage over time as well. Then you have Poseidon, which knocks enemies away from you. Aphrodite doesn't have anything at all like that. Aphrodite focuses on dealing as much raw damage as possible. But that's also going to be while you're close upon the enemies, which is why this is a build that's going to benefit the most by using weapons that you're going to be using face on the enemy, kind of like a shotgun build. That being said, the daggers and the axe, to some extent, the daggers a little bit more because they require for you to be more in the face of the enemy, but we'll talk about the weapons in a little while. All you have to know is that just take a look at how much laser damage you can deal to the Helva. Have in mind that this is one of the bosses on the 4th section of Mount Olympus, so they have a huge amount of health. And this is just lasering their health bar because of how much damage you deal, because of how much the synergies work well with all of this right in here. Now, these are the ones that I would say on this build, on this run, I had much more stuff right in here. But these are the ones that I'd say that synergize better and that they work better with the whole thing, and this should be the ones that you should be looking out for. I do not advise for you to focus this build on the usage of specials as main means of damage, because usually the specials with most of the weapons, they are for range builds. This we won't be on the face of the enemy, because basically you will see that the Flutter Strike, just at level 5, it's going to have close-up damage by 200%. Just so that you have somewhat of an idea on how this is going to be different from the rest of the gods, like the one from Demeter. It's usually, depending on the rarity, it's usually going to be like 100% once you reach level 5. So you're dealing double the damage right in here. The one that I'd say that it gets closer to the damage in percentage base, I would say that it is Apollo, but it doesn't get any close either. You would be getting like 120, something like that. You're still losing a whole lot of damage. The one thing that you do have to have in mind is that it has to be close-up damage, but the close-up damage is not actually that much that you have to be entirely on the face of the enemy. It's just that it's not going to work against enemies that are yards and yards away, but you could still be like on a medium distance to the enemy for this to be active and for this to be working. Now, the next thing that I'd say that it's the most important thing is the Secret Crush. Your attacks gain power, but you prime 20 magic. And this does not really affect the build that much, because with this type of build, using the basic attack, you're not going to be using magic that much. And as a matter of fact, I would take any single thing that would prime your magic from any god to increase your overall DPS and damage at all times. But the one that I'd say that it is the most important one would be the Secret Crush, because this is going to gain power, that it is going to be upscaling its damage by the already Flutter Strike that you have right in there. Now the Glamour gain and the Sweet Surrender, they actually work well with each other. I did mention that we do not care about Magicka that much, but you automatically inflict weak just by being close to the enemies. And what do you know? You're always going to be close to the enemies with this build. What does that do? Well, weaken the enemies, essentially they deal less damage to you. So if you combine that with Sweet Surrender, every time that an enemy is afflicted with weak, they also deal more, you deal more damage to them, meaning that they deal less damage to you and you deal more damage to them. And these are the ones that I'd say that are the most important things that you would have to have in mind when it comes to the Aphrodite. Now the second one that I would advise for you to be looking out for is for Ares, because if we manage to get the blood spray right in here and the mutual destruction, this is going to basically make you invincible, because you can just go down to the, while you have less than 40 health, your attacks and specials restore hearts per hit. And if you're using this build with daggers instead than with the axe, I will have showcase for you both with the daggers and with the axe. But if you use this build with the daggers, since they are such a fast attacking weapon, you can trade with the enemies because they're dealing less damage to you because they are weakened anytime that they're close to you. And also, if you combine that already to 100% damage with the attack power that you're priming and stuff like that, you can get mutual destruction, which is going to deal 200% more damage the less health that you have. So you basically become immortal, and at the same time you hit like a truck, and that's how I am able to laser the health bar of the enemies. I forgot to take the picture of it, but I'd say that the third god that you should be focusing on yourself, like, the whole thing is for you to be taking as much Aphrodite as possible and be taking the actual things that I've been showcasing to you. Whenever you don't get the chance to pick Aphrodite, then go for Ares so that you can see if you can get some blood spray and the mutual destruction. If you do not get either Aphrodite or Ares, remember that you're always going to have the option to chance it to go through a certain door and things like that. Your priority should be looking out for these guys right in here, and then weapon upgrades and the actual skill upgrades. So that's the priority. But if you find that you can't find anything like that and you need to focus on a third god, I would say that you should be taking Hephaestus. Hephaestus, like I mentioned, I don't have the picture right in here, but he has a utility ability that gives you shield for 7 seconds every time that you enter a room. You will notice that I actually do have it right in here. You would be wondering, why would I be wanting something that it is only going to last for 7 seconds every time that I enter the room? Because remember that you're dealing so much damage. You're probably going to, if you just become a killing spree monster, you do not care about receiving damage. You actually combine that with the blood spree to lower your health as much as possible. Then you have 7 seconds to kill things, deal as much damage as you can, and it can be done. It's very much doable. Usually fights with this type of build dealing that much damage are not going to extend that much more, so I'd say that should be the priority when it comes to gods and boons that you should be looking out for this build. First, Aphrodite, second, Ares, and third, Hephaestus with shield every time that you enter a room. After that, focus on getting health, getting more upgrades for your skills, and getting upgrades for your weapons. The upgrades for your weapons can come in a huge number of ways. With daggers, for example, you have the Wicked Onslaught, which basically give you more power with your attacks, and that it is going to increase your DPS. In this specific gameplay that I have for you right in here, I have one that increases the damage and the AoE area of the final attack, and you will notice that even while it is a huge AoE and that I'm dealing damage to enemies far away from me, I'm still dealing the damage from close enemies. So just getting as much upgrades for your weapons should be a priority as well. As for the Keepsakes, I still haven't managed to completely test this to its full extent. It has worked sometimes for me, some other times it has not worked for me. But the way that I usually go about if I'm trying to build this is that you won't be taking the beautiful mirror and you do not want to be rarifying things, because if you rarify things you're going to spend this item for the night and it is not going to be working. There had been many a times when I just roll with the actual variety of the skills that I get, and I continue getting more and more and more and more Aphrodites. But there's also been a couple of times that I haven't had that much Aphrodites. But I have been like quite successful with taking the mirror and not rarefying things, unless it's something like you really do want to rarefy, then yes. But my advice is that in the end, just take this guy right in here, do not rarefy anything at all, and then once you reach the 4th region of the specific, either you're doing the Underworld or you're doing Mount Olympus, then you get you change that for the Luckier Tooth, just to have an extra life that night. The Arcanas that you are going to, well, that I like to use for my builds, it's Death, to have 3+ Death's Defiance. Alongside with that, I like to use Strength. When you have no Death's Defiance, you take less 30% more damage and you deal 20% more damage. Have in mind that if you combine this with the weakness that you are applying to the enemies, and you did manage to get the Iris's Boons that I was telling you about, then you become that much more immortal, especially while you're using the daggers. So this is a very powerful combination. The next thing that I like to focus on as a main, at least on every single one of my builds, is Excellence, Divinity, and the Queen. However, for you to activate Divinity, you have to do Awakening. For you to activate the Queen, you have to do Awakening. So this just requires for you to activate 5 cards in any other row or column. For this one, you require to have no more than 2 cards that use the same amount of Arcana. And that is very tricky. See, so if you copy paste everything as I have set up right in here, you should be golden. And these guys actually do give you like extra nice little things. Like I said, you do not need the mana, but we want for this to activate this guy right in here. Channel your Olympian moves, your Omega Olympian moves. It's very useful, especially if you're using the axe. Whenever you have less than 100% of your magic, you attack and special deal 15% more damage. With this build, you don't necessarily are going to be having this active at all the time, but it's useful. Whenever you exit a location, restore 5 hearts. Like, all of this, it's not really that amazing for this type of build, but I myself personally have not managed to complete a row that has things that I would say that are more useful to me than just having this set up as I have it right in here, and be able to have Death, be able to have Strength, and be able to have Excellence, Divinity, and the Queen. Ideally, the most important thing that you want to have as a major, it's Death, Strength, Excellence, Divinity, and the Queen. And the way that I go about it to have them all active, if I move anything right in here up on my build, something messes up. As a matter of fact, let me show you that if I do, let's say if I do something like so, I'm going to lose this one right in here. If I do something like so, I'm going to lose this one right in here. If I want to take a different row, I'm going to lose something at the end of the day. So this is just how I managed to get all of those guys active. As for the weapons, I'd say that this guy right in here, it's very useful, it's very powerful. The daggers as well, the axe especially because if you go for the axe and the aspect of Melino, this is going to give you plus 50%, not percent, plus 50 attack power, which is very powerful. If you combine that with the close damage range, that's amazing. But if you also go for the aspect of Melino with the daggers, whenever you do backstab damage, that's multiplied by 100%. And since you already have so much damage, this is just pure mayhem and destruction. And if you use the Olympian Omega attack of the daggers, more often than not, you're going to be behind the enemy. So this is massive damage. Any of these guys are just excellent options for this build. While simple and straightforward, because you don't have like any kind of synergy with AoEs or debuffs or things like that, this is just pure raw mayhem damage assassin, and I love it because this is a build that once I manage to actually do set it up, I'm not going to lie to you, you're not going to be able to get the combination between Hephaestus and Ares in every single run. It's very simple to get all of the stuff that I showed you for most of your runs to get Aphrodite, but in any run that I do manage to get the combination between Aphrodite, Ares and Hephaestus, I go just knowing that I am going to win, and I don't even care about dodging nor doing anything like that because of how much survivability and damage you deal, that I just don't really care about dodging the bosses that much. It's just a slugfest of you killing things. Anyways, if you like the content, you like it, it's super appreciated. Nostalgia today, you gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.